watching Oliver? Who indeed? We are talking about the 2017 serial killer movie directed by Richie Moore. Now this one stars Russell Geoffrey Banks. Now this is a kind of a point of view serial killer movie a la the Dexter TV series, if you happen to have watched that. And this movie did very much remind me of Dexter TV series because it puts you in the shoes of this guy who has some severely debilitating mental issues and has a very kind of like messed up upbringing that has put him in this place. He's a man living on his own, away from kind of like the influence of other people, aside from his very overbearing mother, and he's on a killing spree ultimately. Now the reason he's on a killing spree, we kind of learn, is because ultimately he's had this very kind of bad upbringing with his family, and we kind of get some hints about what that's going to be like as the film goes on. But ultimately it's his mother who is pulling the strings and really kind of like manipulating him into going out and doing these kind of things by really ruling him with a kind of an iron fist. Now she's not even in the same country. He kind of talks to her over the internet, but she kind of demands that he talks to her on a regular basis and really still kind of rules him with this kind of like this overbearing kind of matriarchal fear. Now one day he happens to meet this kind of girl who also seems like she is a little bit of a loner herself, and they strike up a bit of a romance, and Oliver starts to question, does he really have to have this life that his mother has set out for him, or can he be his own man and almost kind of move away from the killings? But has this girl got her own kind of demons going on? Well, you have to watch the movie to find out. So let's discuss who's watching Oliver. If you can imagine Patrick Bateman was a serial killer on the alpha kind of scale, and he was the antithesis of the 80s male ego, then this Oliver is kind of the opposite end of the scale. He is the stereotypical nerdy kind of loner look who basically you think serial killers look like, or at least what I feel Hollywood thinks serial killers look like. You know, he looks very much like the guy you would kind of move your kids away from if he was kind of sat too near to you. And he's played in a kind of, he has some weird kind of choices made by the actor here. Some I think work, but some I think I maybe feel go a little bit too far into make him seem like somewhat of a caricature rather than a real kind of fleshed out person. But I've got to say, I did enjoy this character's plot arc because it does kind of, it goes on an arc, and even though this guy is a serial killer, you still kind of want this guy to ultimately find some type of redemption at the end. So that's a testament to the writing, I feel. Because even this guy does kill people. You feel he is being somewhat forced to do so, or at least manipulated by his mother. And let me tell you, those scenes are some messed up scenes right there. I mean, a serial killer is bad enough, but when you've got your mother watching via Skype, watching you rape someone and murder them, and then asking you to, masturbate in front of her, there is some weird stuff going on right there. So you can kind of get an idea why this guy is so messed up and the sort of things he might have had to go through in his childhood to kind of get him to this place. So I thought it did a good job of really making you understand how messed up this guy was without really kind of like hammering you over the head with too much kind of like unnecessary violence and kind of backstory, if that makes sense. One thing that really didn't work for me, I have to say though, was this kind of the introduction of this female character. Now, it is one of the most messed up romances you're ever likely to see. And in a way, it was sweet, but I just didn't buy that this random woman happened to sit next to this guy and start talking to him when we learn that she has a somewhat different but a kind of equally messed up upbringing as well. I just didn't get why she was there, and they meet in this theme park where they just seem to go on a daily basis for reasons. I mean, why are they in the Thailand to begin with, the pair of them? I would have thought there would have had to been some maybe work reasons or something, but they just seem to go to this theme park every day and just hang out. I mean, what are they doing for money and things like that, and why are they in this theme park, two adults who just seem to sit on a park bench? And then why this girl who's clearly got some social issues herself just start talking to this random guy who looks like he's a pedo, quite frankly. So I just didn't buy it. I thought that it maybe they could have been introduced in a bit more of a organic type of way, because it just seemed a little bit too OTT. One thing on the actual theme park setting that I thought worked really well, however, was that you have all these kind of bright colours, and it's obviously some sort of generic, non-branded theme park, i.e. it's not really Disneyland, but these things look incredibly like it. But I did like the fact that you have this weird, cheery music kind of almost playing in the background when we have those scenes, and we have these two very kind of like messed up people who have very dark pasts, kind of juxtaposed with this kind of cheery kind of like, but almost kind of haunting background behind it. I thought that was really good, and I kind of thought those scenes worked really well. And I've got to say, overall, the cinematography here was very good. Now, when we have our kind of violent scenes, I do think they work pretty well, because they are kind of shocking, but not too over the top to begin with. So, I mean, some of the stuff that this guy does is very messed up, but the way the camera sort of is kind of positioned and stuff like that, it kind of gives you the effect without really kind of going too OTT with the explicit nature of what's actually happening here. So it's shocking because you understand what is happening, but you don't necessarily get a bird's eye view of it the whole way through. However, there is a lot of description about what's going on, because the mother is there, you know, watching on her computer screen and stuff like that. So it all kind of like, lots of stuff is kind of almost kind of implied, but not necessarily shown. So overall, I had a few minor quibbles as well with this film. I mean, where are the police in this film? There's not a sign of them here, and yet we're led to believe that there's a bit of, you know, loads and loads of killings going on. But I guess that's the point of it being set somewhere like Thailand. It's kind of saying that maybe life is kind of a little bit cheap there with all these kind of like streetwalkers and stuff like that. So overall, I think if you do like TV shows like Dexter, you'll probably get a kick out of this, because I do think it does, you know, it does a good job of itching that scratch. And I was interested and invested in the character of Oliver, and that's partly down to the writing, partly down to the performance, although I do have a few issues with each. But I wanted to see him succeed ultimately, despite the fact that obviously he is obviously a somewhat messed up individual. So I would probably recommend it if you are a serial killer, maybe not a slasher fan, but it's certainly an interesting movie. I'll give it a 6 out of 10, so it's an above average score for me. I kind of enjoyed it, I was invested in the story and I wanted to see where it turned out, so that means it's an above average score. So 6 out of 10, have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I shall look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.